All right. So, as you may or may not know, we have been hosting this series of panel events all month, coinciding with the release of our film designership. And we've had panels on diet and the microbiome, the state of fecal transplant in clinical research, environmental factors that shape the microbiome, all these very scientific and educational topics. And I've enjoyed every single one of them. But it was very important to me that we also have a panel discussion that steps away from the science side, which Alana, I know you are an expert. She can very well speak on the science of the gut microbiome, but that's not the kind of questions we're going to be asking her today. We wanted a panel that touches on the human side of this topic. The film is about fecal transplant, but if you watch the film, at its core, it's really a film about the human experience of suffering from a condition like mine and the ways in which these embarrassing conditions are addressed in doctor's appointments, in our personal relationships, in society as a whole. So I have just been very inspired by the work of these three women, the work that they're involved in, because they make me feel less alone and ashamed as we roll out this film and I expose myself as a woman who poops, which is still very taboo to admit publicly. So let's get into it. I'm going to start by letting everybody introduce themselves. So, Alana, let's start with you. Can you tell us a bit about your background and how you went from a career in DJing to a career in gut health?
Yeah, very randomly. I'm actually a twin. Lisa can't be here. She's just had a baby, like you, Saffron. But we volunteered for twin research here in London. Twins are a great constant for medical research. We signed up in 2015 and we were actually part of a pioneering study called the American Gut Project, where we had to send our poo off every day in the post for months. And we just became so passionate about what the gut was, how we were so different as identical twins. We have 100% the same DNA, but only 30% the same gut microbiome. And we really, coming from a DJ background, wanted to get this amazing research out there in a sort of pop culture way. So the gut stuff was born as a bit of a passion project back in 2017 and has snowballed into a bigger beast than we could ever have imagined now. And then we had not just, it's mad, it's been a year now. We have a TV show out called Know Your Shit. Which did really well here in the UK and is now being sold and syndicated into most countries around the world, which is mad. So sorry, that wasn't a nutshell, but a very random journey.
That's great. Thank you. And Amy, can you please introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about your health journey.
Sure. My name is Amy Wolf. I am from Pottstown, Pennsylvania. I am 55 years old, and I was diagnosed with inflammatory bowel disease, originally ulcerative colitis, when I was 27. So I have had IBD for more than half of my life. I had my colon removed in 2002 when my son was just a year old. So that was pretty hard. I missed his first steps because I was in the hospital. And he grew up with a mom who poops and a mom who poops a lot. So I know we'll talk about that a little bit later. I had a J pouch for many years, and then I was re-diagnosed with Crohn's disease in 2009 and spent 2 years being horribly sick and hitting every bathroom in southeastern Pennsylvania as I was driving to work and driving around, and with very, very open arms welcomed my permanent ileostomy in 2011. So I had my permanent ileostomy and my Barbie butt surgery 2011 and a resection in 2013. And knock wood, I have been in remission ever since and enjoying great health and loving my life as a bag lady.
That's great. I'm so glad you found a solution that you're feeling better now.
Yeah, thank
Um,
you.
and Mickey, please introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about your background and how you came to create your companies.
Mm-hmm. Well, first of all, I'm an identical twin as well.
Yay!
And I really get the twinship thing and how special it is. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, we're identical as well. Did you know, actually, it's just totally random and separate, but twins, are you guys both left-handed or right-handed?
Mirror twins, yeah.
Are you guys a mirror? So one of you is left, one of you is right?
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
means egg split late, which is kind of cool.
Oh, yeah. Are you
Yeah.
guys same or?
I'm left, she's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. And congrats, Saffron, on having a baby. That's really, really an incredible portal as you know. It's awesome.
Thank
Congrats.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Mickey, and I have been sort of in the taboo space for quite some time. Starting in the food space. I opened New York City's first alternative pizza concept in the land of Joe's Pizza, which was very, very challenging for people at the time, 2005, when organic, local, gluten-free, farm to table, those concepts were still not really in the lexicon. So it was a lot of education to get people to understand why eating healthier is actually better for you, and what does healthier actually mean. And then I started Thinx, which is the period proof underwear company, which was sort of disrupting the period space, the feminine hygiene category that hadn't been disrupted in over, almost 100 years. And why? Because it's taboo. People aren't talking about it. And when people aren't talking about something, then they're not innovating in it. And so there's a huge opportunity to take this space and disrupt it. And so I co-founded Thinx, which is just a period proof underwear that protects you from leaks and keeps you feeling dry and safe and protected every day of the month. And then my current company is Tushy, which is a bidet company, and it was actually started. Started because I had a hyperthyroid condition. One of the side effects of having a hyperthyroid condition was pooping a lot. And I pooped I was pooping like up to 8 times a day. It was like one of the most insane experiences of my life for a couple of years. I've healed myself since. But pooping a lot, wiping with dry toilet paper was just not supportive. And so I ended up jumping in the shower and like washing my chapped butt. And eventually my husband, at the time, he got me a bidet, kind of a bidet product that totally changed my life for Valentine's Day. And then I said, I'm half Japanese, half Indian. I grew up with bidets. And so it just sort of was this aha moment. And I want to bring the best in class, affordable bidet to the American market because it truly changed my life. And I started thinking about people with IBS, with Crohn's, with all these issues, that have messy poops, that aren't clean, that have, GI issues, but then also chronic UTIs, hemorrhoids, fissures, itching, bacterial vaginosis. There's so many people with issues down there that aren't. A lot of it has to do with it being exacerbated by dry toilet paper, which isn't properly cleaning you. And so just wanted to disrupt that space, and so started Tushy, the modern bidet. And it's like a $99 product, which is really, really cool.
It's a fantastic product. And like I said, we've been giving them away at our panels and everybody is loving them. My husband is half Indian, so he grew up, he's all about bidets. But like there is this cultural difference where I was like, oh, I've never thought about using a bidet. And to him, it's bizarre if somebody doesn't. So I think it's really cool that you're kind of changing our Western perspective of it. I think people are still a little bit embarrassed or weirded out by talking about washing your butt.
It is. But that's the fun of it, right? Like, how do you take something that's kind of taboo again and make it sexy, make people lean into it, make people feel like, oh, this is a pleasurable experience. It's a pleasurable change in what I've been doing. Like, let me lean into that. And so like, how do you bring kind of that artful pleasure into the experience?
Absolutely, yeah. And on that topic, Alana, I have to say, when I started thinking about making this film back in like 2018, it took me a long time to get this film out. I stumbled upon your Instagram page for the gut stuff. And it was at a time where I was like, I wanted to do this film. It was a topic that was interesting to me, but I still had so much shame and embarrassment around like, oh my God, I'm going to out myself as somebody with IBD. And then I saw your page and I was like, look at these cute blonde girls with this adorable branding, like the pink with like the balloon tied into a knot to look like the intestine. Like I loved everything about it. And it just really, made me feel like, okay, I'm not alone in wanting to talk about this. And it's not shameful. These girls are doing it with such confidence. So my question is, when you guys started putting yourselves out there as the gut stuff, as these poop specialists, was there ever a moment that you experienced embarrassment or shame or thought, I'm not sure that I want to do this?
Yeah, no, actually, we didn't feel it personally. I think a lot of people were like, I don't get it. You're DJs on Love Island and now you're talking about poo. You know what? And actually, now when people call us like the poo twins or, I don't know, the gut twins or whatever, I actually wear it as a badge of honor. I think, but before people were like, this is career suicide. You're DJs and you're talking about the gut. And then now people are like, oh, wow, like you were onto something that is really important. Because I think when we started talking about it, you know, in 2017, especially here in the UK, people were like, what do you mean my beer belly? Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And it's, especially, you know, when we pitched the TV show in 2020, they were like, this is never going to be mainstream. You know, no one wants to talk about gut health, especially not, you know, on in an entertainment format on primetime TV. And then, you know, fast forward to the beginning of the year, and you know, over 7 million people watched it, and it went in the Great British Bake Off slot, which is one of the biggest slots on telly here in the UK. So you know, and just the amount of people, and it's just so heartwarming to hear, you know, your story of how it made you feel a bit more confident of talking out. We know we did a whole episode on IBD, and the amount of people that reached out to us and said, you have made me feel like I'm not alone and that I'm confident to talk about it. And the fact that there was a whole episode dedicated to stomas and people with them, and making it in a sort of entertaining way, in that it wasn't a real science heavy program. It was, you know, really us getting to know the people that were living with it. And, you know, if that helped just one person, we would have been delighted. But the fact that it helped thousands is amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I do feel that, you know, poop and these kind of issues are something that men generally feel more comfortable talking about. And also just this masculine energy of talking about it in a very like scientific, logical way. I love bringing in this feminine energy of we're talking about it in a way of expressing vulnerability and expressing how we feel about it. And I think that every woman on this panel kind of has a part in doing that. And I just think it's really important to see. So Amy, I wanted to talk to you about Girls with Guts and the work that you guys do specifically, you know, breaking down this vulnerability of women being able to talk about this stuff and support one another.
Sure. I don't know exactly how I learned about Girls with Guts 10 years ago. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary with our gala in September. And thank you to you, Mickey. You've been very generous to Girls with Guts over the years. But I think because I am so vocal on my social media and talking about Crohn's and talking about my disease and talking about poop, I think somebody saw it and shared it with me and said, hey, you should check out this support group, and they're having a retreat. And so I went to the very first retreat in 2013, and I never really felt like I was somebody that needed support. I have a very loving family, very supportive husband. I just I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need support, but maybe I can help somebody. I'm always liking to talk about it, because if I can help just one person, like you said, Alana, if you can help one person by being vocal about it, then it's worth it. And I went to the retreat, and
Yeah.
Amy?
I don't know what happened. Sorry about that. So I went to the retreat and I met 37 other women who were just like me. And we were all the sick girl. You know, you're used to, when you're the sick girl, you're used to being the sick girl. It's what makes you different. But we were all the sick girl. And so if you're all the sick girl, then you just to connect with people that can help you problem solve in a way that a doctor can't, right? So you've got all these life hacks, these IBD hacks that you learn from other people. And so that's why I feel it's so important to just be able to talk about it and be able to get that guidance from people that have been through it in a way that a doctor hasn't. So I think I need to step away and get my battery pack. I'll BRB.
Okay. Well, Mickey, speaking on the topic of taboo subjects, was this something that you've always been comfortable talking about, or is it something that you had to work at? Like, were you just like a little girl who was like, let's talk about poop and periods? Or where did this come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, I grew up, I'm half Japanese, half Indian, grew up in French Canada, you know, in North America, and then moved to the United States. And so I think like the beautiful gift that my parents gave me was the gift of debate, and just saying there's no way of doing things. There's no like, this is how it's done. This is what you talk about, what you don't talk about. You talk about everything and you kind of debate about it. And so I think it just gave the kind of permission to question everything and say like, is this the best way to do this? Is there a better way? Can we do it differently? Can we invent a new possibility? And I think the answer is always yes. And so I don't think any topic was off limits for me growing up. And I think that supported kind of leaning into these taboo spaces.
I don't know if you find it as well, Mickey, a twin thing. Like, I find all the twins I know are not only so open with each other, but everyone else around them. And I
Yes,
wonder if that's got a part to play in
totally.
it.
Totally. We just talk about
Just like
everything to
oversharers.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's no like it's there's it just feels like you can talk about everything to everyone. It's because you're just so used to just kind of
Yeah. And we've
connecting.
like been trying to like connect the dots as well here, like especially us Brits, we're always like, oh god, you can't say, even swear words, or even us having like shit in a TV show, people are like, oh my god, you can't say that, how are you going to say the name of the show on daytime telly and things like that. And it's like, I've got a 2-year-old, and for these, the last 2 years, all we've talked about is her poo. And then, with puppies, we talk about it. Kids talk about poo all the time. And we've like, at what age do we stop talking about it? Is it like teenagers? Is it we go into high school? Or because we talk about it all the time? And I think it's mad that it's one of the only things we all do apart from eating, sleeping, and dying. Pooing is one of the things that we all do. And why do we not talk about it? Because we talk so openly about all of the other things. Maybe not dying, that's still a bit of a thing, but it's just like, yeah, we've been trying to like nail over the when do we lose it, and is it
Yeah,
different for
that
boys and
was
girls?
sorry, that was one of the questions I had because I think we're all mums on this forum, and Amy,
Mhm.
had brought that up when we spoke to her. I think your kid's a bit older, so when do we lose that, and how do you keep that conversation going about?
Yeah, we never lost it. He's 22. He's at grad school now, and I'll be like, "Everything okay? How's your poop?" I mean, like if he would let me look at it, I would look at it. I'd be like, because there's no better indicator of what's happening inside than what's coming out, right? So that's when people tell me they don't look at the poop, I'm like, you're probably lying to me. Everybody looks. And B, even if you aren't looking, why are you not looking? So it's like another thing. Like, what do you got to look at it. You got to talk about it. So we never lost it in my family. Harrison, when he was little and I had my J pouch and my J pouch started going bad, it was just running into every store. And we knew where the bathroom was. People with IBD, you would know where the bathroom is at every place. And your favorite places to stop, the gas stations that are clean, etc. So he's not embarrassed at all. We were at the grocery store on Sunday, and he was like, "Oh, I got to take a shit. Okay, hold on. I'll meet you right back here in the bread aisle." I just like normal, So we've never lost that in our house, but I don't know when that happens or why it happens. Does it happen when kids go to school? And I know
Yeah,
other families are not as open about it as we are.
I think I think from that lens, there's like the common school and the normal school were the ones that really kind of created that assembly line schooling system. It was like get in line, be a cog in a machine, and anything outside of this machine is considered, a disruption. And so I think it just, how do you keep people in line? How do you get people to assimilate?
And also, speaking of school, it's you're in school you're a little kid and you're in school for 8 hours or 7 hours, and you don't want to raise your hand and say I have to go to the bathroom, or you have very specific time, so you're forced to hold it in. It's like it starts at such an unhealthy habit starting at such a young age, with not being able to just go to the bathroom when you have the need to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. My son the other day, this is just a toddler story. My 2-year-old was like, Mom, how come when I eat a lot of fruit, I have to poop a lot? And I was like, this is so great. Let's talk about fiber. Let's talk about the microbiome. So I'm very inspired by you, Amy, and your relationship with your son. I hope to keep that going, and I don't want him to lose that. Just be curiosity about his own health, right? Um, okay, let's go back to Alana. Can you tell us a bit more about your TV show? Like, what's the format of your TV show, and how did you, get this TV show greenlit?
Yeah, so we pitched it, back in 2020, and everyone was like, "You're mad." But the premise is a bit like Queer Eye meets. We have a show here called Embarrassing Bodies, which is like a clinic format, where you can book into the clinic. So our clinic was called Poo HQ, and people came in for all different types of conditions. They some were very specific gut issues. Some were, immunity, mental health, skin, and they came in and they spoke to our three experts. So we had a gastro, a dietitian, and a psychologist. So that was like the core of the show, but we also did a lot of like science hacks out of there. We did food hacks. So it was very much like edutainment, is like sort of factual entertainment. So we knew we had to make it fun and accessible and bring that pop culture element that we had brought to the gut stuff for so many years. And just to have, on such a big platform was amazing. But I think the thing that surprised us the most was how many submissions we had to be on the show. I wasn't sure how many people wanted to come on and be so personal with us and open up to us so much, but they actually had one of the most submissions they've ever had, and they still continue to come in. So that for me was the most heartwarming, that people really felt they could come in and be on national television and really open up to us on a personal level, like a medical level, so a clinical level, but also just on a really personal level and how it affected them. And what was so apparent to us was how debilitated people were in everyday life. And most people that came into the clinic said, we said, what can we do for you if you could walk out here, what would be your dream be, what would the goal be? And there were such simple things. It was like going out for dinner with my family, being able to eat what I want when I want. And most people came out of that room, and we were lucky we had such amazing experts and amazing aftercare and things like that. They were like, I just feel listened and I just feel heard. And I think a lot of people, when they go to their GPs or doctors with gut issues, they don't feel heard, and they almost feel like it's all in their heads or it's lifestyle, and it's definitely not that. And I think that was a big thing that came out as well. And obviously slightly different here because we have the NHS, but us really starting to think and educating what our gut actually is. I think the majority of the population don't know what their gut actually is and know how much of a big, huge piece of kit it is. And then also adding the microbiome into that as well. I think we had to do a lot on the education side, but making it fun so that we were getting a certain audience in and watching and to really make that sort of big difference.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We have an audience question from Katie saying, Alana, do you feel that the UK is more open around IBD, IBS in comparison to the US?
I'm not sure. I think when we first started the gut stuff, definitely not. But then more so people would say, if I said to someone, I own a gut health business, they'd be like, oh, what do you mean IBS? And you're like, well, sort of, that's definitely one piece of the pie, but there's, we're talking about a big wide span of a lot of health conditions. And now obviously we now talk about it with mental health and immunity and fertility, menopause. The gut is linked to so much more. So maybe more on an awareness of the word IBS, but I think a lot of people weren't sure exactly what it was, and certainly the difference between IBS and IBD and other issues. So I'm not sure on the comparison because we've only done some work in the US, not enough for me to make a fair comparison, but I hope that the TV show did a lot in educating and bringing more awareness to both.
Mm-hmm. And Amy, do you continue to face any shame or embarrassment around your condition?
Not whatsoever. But that's just me. I'm a pretty open person. It doesn't embarrass me. And like I said before, we've talked about, if I can help one person, then it's all worth it to me to just put myself out there. And I continually get texts and phone calls and Facebook messages from people. Can you give me a recommendation? I don't know what to do about this. Is this something I should be concerned about? My daughter is facing this. I can't tell you. We have an epidemic of GI issues with young women in this country. It is overwhelming. It's alarming. So people all the time just reaching out to me and just asking for my advice. Not that I'm any sort of an expert. I just am a patient for half of my life. But the more we can talk about it and the more we can help people and hopefully help get people the right help that they need for their gut. So yeah, no shame, not whatsoever.
That's great.
I realize not everybody is like that. That's just, I'm open book.
I'm getting there. I mean, I definitely didn't start there. I have a lot of shame and embarrassment that I'm like peeling back the layers of slowly. And this film coming out, I'm just like, hey, I'm here and I have IBD, and still working out how I feel about that. But like I said, I mean, that's why I'm so inspired by you guys and your businesses. And I think this is important for people in my position who aren't quite there yet, who are still kind of dealing with that shame. Um, to jump subjects, this is a question for Mickey, but I kind of want to hear about all you guys, marketing and advertising for your companies or for your organization. So, Mickey, for Thinks and Tushy, you've had some bold and eye-catching advertisements. How do you believe that these campaigns have contributed to destigmatizing periods and bathroom habits, and any controversy you might have faced with those campaigns?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I've kind of over the many years kind of came up with a little thesis around how to change culture and how to get people to try something new. And I think that's the hardest thing when you've been like conditioned to do something for literally generations. How do you actually inspire someone to try something different? And so kind of the three-pronged thesis I'd come up with around that is, number one, you have to have a best-in-class product. The product has to work. It has to do a great job. It has to be, the right, well priced. It has to be, just the basics of a best-in-class product, and a great innovation. So that is first. But then the other two pieces I think is equally important when you're looking to change culture and market something new. The first is what I would just call like artful design across every touch point of your brand. And you think about our subway campaigns for Thinks in New York City. And if anyone's seen it, it felt like walking into a gallery experience. Or if you were to even go to our, see a lot of our Tushy stuff, even you go to hellotushy.com or, saw any of our early Think stuff. I mean, I've stepped down since 2017, so it's a bit different now, but the earlier stuff that we did at Thinks and then, currently with Tushy is very, very art forward. And I think because of that, people's first reactions are like, wow, that's so artful. That's so beautiful. And then they're like, oh, they're talking about poop. But because their first reaction was, wow, this is artful and beautiful, they've actually pulled back less and they get more curious. And they're like, oh, this is beautiful. Let me look. Oh, they're talking about poop. They're talking about periods, but it's gorgeous. Okay, let me stay here for a minute and inspect and open my heart to maybe potential change. And then the third thing is accessible, relatable language across every touch point of your brand. And I think a lot of people, when they're trying to bring something new to a market, they get very heady, very academic, very clinical, very medical, very technical. And then it's like over people's heads. And, the way I think about like the languaging of Thinks and Tushy and any future company that I'm bringing into the world is like, how do you text your best friend? How do you text your twin sister? How do you text your favorite people about what you're excited about? You're messy, you're funny, you're quirky, you're just yourself, you're authentic. And that is how we take the language and put it in our brand. Like we're very authentic, very accessible, very relatable. It feels like you're texting your best friend. And so when you're talking to people about something new, already they've leaned in. It's artful. It's pretty. Oh, it's even talking about poop. Like I've already leaned in. Let me like inquire further. Oh, they're talking to me like I'm their best friend. It feels familiar and relatable. I don't feel so foreign. It's not academic, technical. It's over my head. It's actually relatable. I can lean in even further. And I think when you're matching all three of those things, a best-in-class product, the right artful design, and the right accessible, relatable language, bringing it all together, it really potentially can change culture and make people try something new.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, your products are beautiful. And it's so great to hear from you.
Your marketing for Hello Tushy is just fantastic. The humor level, it just really is fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, that's we're talking about poop. I mean, everyone laughs, and so might as well like meet people where they are and laugh together. And by laughing together, we're introducing something, but it's still beautiful and artful. It's not like a joke. It's like funny, but still beautiful. And the beauty makes it serious. The beauty brings it like the gravitas. And it's that tension. Like I always talk about the tension of creativity. There's got to be some tension in it to get people to notice. Like when you're meeting someone new, there's like tension in a relationship, like even a friendship, but in a new like romantic dynamic, there's tension. Like there's got to be tension in everything. When you're reading a novel, it's like patroning because there's tension. When you're watching a movie, there's tension. Like where's the tension in a brand and inviting someone into a new experience? There's got to be something that creates the mystery, the tension.
Yeah, I think like we totally resonate with all of that. We did a campaign in lockdown, and we had pink poo posters all nationwide on billboards, and it was basically the Bristol stool chart, but we did it
Yeah.
as like pink balloons, and it looked beautiful. And then people got up close and were like, oh god, it's poos. And then we sort of named them sort of funny things per region. So you had like Punami, and in Manchester it was very specific slang to each of the different poos, and it caused a rumpus, as we see here, but it got the attention that it deserved. And I remember people messaging us saying, you gave us such a laugh in lockdown when we walked past that bus stop. And I'm like, that is how we make change. And people always say to us, who's your competitors? It's like, it's definitely not anyone in the gut health space. We're all creating the category together. We're all raising awareness together. But it's what you say. It's like, how do you break through pop culture? How are you're vying for the attention of TikTok and Ariana Grande and Spotify and Nike. It's for people's attention, and to do that, I believe I 100% agree with Mickey. Like, you need to be tapping into pop culture. And exactly the same, like, I love the analogy of texting your best friend. Like, we always ask our mum, who's a very working class Scottish, like, barriers up, this is my way, I've done it for this long, don't preach to me, I'm not going to be changed, this is the way I am. And we like give her a gin and like, do you understand this, mum? Do you understand this campaign? Does it resonate with you? What? And I think that is it. I think people try to be too clever, and to resonate with people, you have to speak to them on a level which they're malleable enough to take in the information. And the information we're all giving them is so important. This is such important issues, but how are we making people understand and make them passionate in a different way almost?
Mm-hmm. Fabulous answers. And Amy, you were showing earlier your shirt and the pins that you have on.
Yeah, so Girls with Guts is really it's a big sisterhood. It's about advocacy for yourself and for each other, and it is being part of the group, going to the retreats or being on their private forum where you can ask questions. It is, you've got thousands of women that are your IBD best friends and sisters, and over the years, now when I go to the retreats, we hardly ever talk about poop. They're just my friends, but I can still go to them and be like, oh, I've got this issue with the skin around my stomach. What, I think you went through that. Can you help me? So it's really about just advocacy, and that's how we spread our brand and our awareness. We're not selling a product, and we're not looking for viewers or things like that. So we're a little bit different as a support group, but just to let people know that it's okay, and you're not alone, and there's definitely somebody that's been through exactly what you're going through and can help you.
Amazing. And so we've talked about sisterhood. We've talked about raising little boys into men who are comfortable talking about poop. But we have a question. How do we get older men today who grew up in an era where women don't talk about these types of things to change their attitudes? Any ideas? And have you experienced this from any men?
Old white men, how do you get them to change? Right. We've been really open in my family, not just with my husband and my son, but my greater family, my parents who are in their 80s now. We weren't like this, I don't think, when we were younger, but certainly since I've been sick and dealing with IBD and Crohn's and myostomy and everything, we're definitely much more open about it and willing to talk about it in general. I think it's just keep talking. Just keep talking and just keep putting it out there and making it weird to the point where it becomes unweird.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great advice. I mean, we have a similar question here. How do you deal with the topic of IBD with coworkers and in a workplace? I think we do have to talk about it.
I have a small business. I've got 22 employees, and my employees all know that they can talk to me about anything health related. And it's a fine line to where, as an employer, what you can talk about, when you're an employer, when you're a friend. But just last week, one of my coworkers, a new employee, he's been with us for 3 weeks, and he had food poisoning, and he was like, I think I need to go home. I was like, of course, go home. I texted him to make sure he got home okay. I was like, I know he's going to be stopping at Wawa at least 3 times on his way home to use the bathroom. But he said, thank you so much for understanding. I said, this is my space. Now you're talking my language. Food poisoning, poop, I got you, like, no problem. But I think it's hard for employees, and especially in a big corporation, where there's an HR department or there are many layers of management, to talk about it and feel comfortable, and just make sure, I would say, that you know what your rights are as an employee. Here in the United States, make sure you know what your rights are, make sure you know about FMLA, and just, you want to be open and honest, but you also want to be careful as an employee. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, as a filmmaker, we travel a lot. We're always like driving, taking flights, and my cameraman got very used to me talking about how I need to go to the bathroom, and it was always urgent, right? It was always like, in 30 seconds, I need to be at a bathroom. And he got so comfortable with it. And it lessens my symptoms to be around people who I know I can express that to. If I'm in a situation where I feel like I have to keep this to myself, I might have to run to the bathroom, but no one can know about it, that makes me need to go to the bathroom, because I get so nervous and stressed out, right?
Yeah. Did you find that your cameraman or your coworkers were on the lookout for you? Right. So, like, hey, there's a restroom there. Do you need to use it? Right.
Absolutely.
They
Yeah,
become like your little scouting party, right?
yeah, he's like, if we get stuck in traffic, I will drive on the shoulder of this highway to get you to a bathroom on time. And I was like, thank you so much. I needed that support in those panic moments, I mean, for me, I talk about this in the film. I had so many emotional triggers. There were just situations in my day-to-day life where I felt so panicked that I was going to have an accident and humiliate myself. And how could I come back from that humiliation? So being with people who I didn't have to be embarrassed about, in the worst case scenario that happened, that they would have my back, was huge. What about at your companies, Tushy and the gut stuff? How is it discussed?
Yeah, we're very open at the gut stuff. All things poo and periods, everything like that. But we also have a big workplace wellness program, that's a services arm to the business, where we go into big businesses and educate around gut health, which is a big avenue. We also have a school curriculum that we're doing that in as well. So I think education is absolutely key, and spreading that message far and wide.
That's fantastic. Mickey, I'd like to hear your answer as well, but we also have a question of, you've disrupted 2 important spaces. What is next?
Well, so I'll answer the question. Yeah, we at Tushy, it almost self-selects the people. Like, we're talking about poop and butts and cleaning and if you're not comfortable talking about it, then applying for the job will make you embarrassed talking about your job every day. So it actually just self-selects the people who are, down to talk about it, down to change culture, down to break the taboo around it. So it's great. And then for me, what's next? Also in the poop space, interestingly enough. But actually, I had a baby 6 years ago. As you know now very well, Saffron, you're going through many, 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 many diapers every single day. And it's causing a lot of waste. It's the very first disposable diaper is still somewhere in a landfill today. The average baby goes through 6,000 diapers in their lifetime. It takes 500 years for a diaper to decompose in a landfill. It's a really, really horrible challenge. And then it leaves microplastics, and actually the baby's wearing, like, there's bleach and all of the the toxins and the polypropylene, polyurethane, and superabsorbent polymer that's in the diaper itself, which is not ideal for the baby. And so what over the last almost 3 years now, I've hired 10 scientists and team to top microbiologists, mycologists, and we've basically found in the fungal kingdom of 1.3 million fungi, whittle it down to top 100, top 30, and then top 4 plastic eating mushrooms. And so the whole premise is that when the baby poops into the diaper, the baby poop acts as fertilizer to then trigger these dormant, that'll never touch the baby, mushrooms to grow, eat the diaper within a few months instead of 500 years. And they were saying, throw in the trash like you normally would, so that ideally it ends up in a landfill and then it starts eating all the plastics in landfills too. And so it's harnessing baby poop and mushrooms to solve the global plastic crisis.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
Oh my gosh.
So good.
Fascinating.
The first product is diapers, and then we're doing menstrual pads because menstrual blood is also super, super potent for, it's food for the baby, it's food for mushrooms. And then we're going to do adult diapers because urine also is really potent as well. So all these things are hugely wasteful and end up to take 500 plus years to decompose in landfill. Doggy wee wee pads. Oh, there's just everything soft plastic that has all that stuff in it. We are going to totally eradicate by just having these plastic eating mushrooms eat them. And then actually the byproduct is soil and edible mushrooms that people actually can harvest and eat in the end, which is pretty cool.
That is so genius. Wow. And I love that all of your products have this like taboo bashing aspect to it, but also the environmental aspect to it. It's so great.
Yeah, Mickey, I have to say, I had Thinks way back when, and like here in the UK, no one was really wearing period pants yet. And I was like, you have to try these. They're amazing. Got all the friends on it. I was flying that Thinks flag for you here in the UK early on.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm going to chime in about the Tushy, and it kind of ties into what Lori's topic is about COVID. And there was some GI symptoms related with COVID that a lot of people were not aware of, that wasn't being talked about. But during COVID, toilet paper was a real shortage here in the United States. I'm sure it was in other places as well. And so my husband, we do have a bidet, and my husband decided to see how long he could go on one roll of toilet paper, right? Because when you're using the bidet is so much more environmentally friendly, right? Because you're washing and you're using two squares a day is what he would use to just pat dry, right? And
or you can pat dry with a towel. Like in Italy, all these hot, sexy Italian men and women, they use a towel to pat dry. Like it's actually
it's economical, and it's so much more environmentally friendly. And we weren't worrying about the toilet paper shortage as much.
Yeah, that was the biggest boom time for
Tushy. Yeah.
We had no expectation what was going to happen, but during that period of time, we had our best months in company history during COVID because of that exact thing. People were so afraid of running out of toilet paper.
I was pushing it hard. I was doing a daily Facebook Live show, and I was pushing it hard with my audience. I was like, everybody needs to get a bidet, every single person. Yeah, stop being so weird about it.
Amazing. Yeah, it's we're like the train, it's like the early adopters, and now we're just going for early majority, and we're trying to get to mainstream. That's like really, Tushy's biggest mission is that every household has a bidet, ideally a Tushy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's weird because like when we were younger, that was like a luxury that we had. If we'd go traveling in Europe, like Spain or Italy, it'd be like, oh, what's that? And they'd be like, oh, and you'd be like, oh, right, this is amazing.
It's not this like weird contraption that you're like shimmying over to poop on top of. It makes no sense. It's actually
it's better.
Yeah, the Tushy bidet is attached to your existing toilet and turns any toilet into a bidet directly, and there's no plumbing or electric required. And so you should turn a knob and it sprays your butt with clean water. It's not pulling from the bowl or the tank, it's pulling water from the wall, the same water you brush your teeth with. So people have like all these preconceived notions of it's dirty toilet bowl, it's this, it's that, it's a different thing. It's like, no, it's a simple thing that clips onto your existing toilet under 10 minutes and you have a bidet attached right away. It's pretty wild. Yeah. And it saves 15 million trees per year.
And I got my husband the travel.
Yes.
Yeah. So I started using a bidet after I got my J pouch, but I thought about it after you have a baby, they give you the perineal cleansing bottle, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's just what that is, Miki. That's what the perineal cleansing bottle is. And so I used the perineal cleansing bottle for a long time, and then we got the bidet attachment.
This is our Tushy travel, and I literally saved. I don't use a single wet wipe, and wet wipes are so bad for the environment. It's way worse for the environment than any toilet paper, and it's horrible. And it actually strips away the natural oils from your behind, which then causes anal fissures. So it breaks down your skin over time because it's got, even the water wipes are chemical or have chemically in it.
If you live in a municipality that's got a water treatment, it's horrible. It is horrible
they cause fatbergs. The city, like New York City, wants to ban wet wipes, and they're trying to figure out how to do that. But this is a Tushy travel, and it costs $29, and it's super simple. You fill it up with water, and then you can go to any. I mean, it's changed my life going to any, like, if you go to a hotel, it doesn't matter how nice a hotel is, if it doesn't have a bidet, you're using dry paper, it just makes a disgusting experience. So just having a simple travel tushy is like honestly game changing. I travel with my pillow and my tushy everywhere I go. It's just, my life is fantastic as a result. Just
Great holiday present. If anybody's, thinking of stocking stuffers,
Definite,
there you go.
Mhm.
Amy, we have a question. How do I get more involved with Girls with Guts? I created my Instagram account to help more women like myself with active perianal disease. Would love to connect with more women.
All right. So you can go to the Girls with Guts website and reach out, or if you're on Facebook, you can go to their Facebook page. Just contact Alicia is the president of Girls with Guts. I think she's on here. Alicia, I think you're watching. Hello. And yeah, just connect with us and we'll chat. Thank you.
My husband is watching right now and he's texting me, we need to get a tushy bidet. I'm like, okay, yeah, we're on it.
Definitely.
Let's see. So this question's a little woo-woo, but the phrase trust your gut is often used in the context of intuition. How do you interpret this saying? And have there been instances in your life where you've followed your gut instinct and it led to positive outcomes?
Yeah, so I'm wearing my Trust Your Gut shirt. You can see, trust your guts. Yeah, my gut is a jerk. I don't often, like, sometimes I don't trust it at all. But I obviously, my gut instinct led me to that first Girls with Guts retreat, which changed my life in so many ways. I can't even talk about them all. So that is definitely my most vivid example of how trusting my gut and doing something that was, I wouldn't say out of my comfort zone, but just something that was a little bit odd for me to do, and just changed my life in a really great way.
Yeah, I guess sort of my head goes completely to the scientific gut brain axis situation, but I actually, I have a bit of a sort of binary brain, but then I'm also a firm believer in serendipity in the universe, and definitely a lot of I went from being a DJ to in a gut health business. There's got to be some sort of follow your gut instinct there, I think, because it's not the most clear of paths, I would say. But I think it's so important to trust your gut. And I think even as a twin, you always have to, like, you second guess yourself. You got to ask your twin all the opinions, and but I think there's definitely following your gut and that instinct, whether it be that scientific vagus nerve connection, neurotransmitters, or just that one of the universe and the stars aligning. And I think it's so important to tune into that.
Yeah, I mean, my own answer to that question is just that, that gut brain connection, that with my condition, when it was at its worst, there was a lot going on between the stress in my brain and my gut. And part of my healing process was meditation. I became very aware of the fact that everything that was going on in my head was affecting my gut and vice versa. So for people who are going through IBD flares, looking for solutions, I always do say meditation does help. Getting kind of a hold of that is very important. It's just as important as the medication. We have a question. Is there any product that can cut down on the wetness we use to wipe our infants' butts? Maybe that's a question about, like, is there an alternative to, like, wet wipes for babies?
I mean, you can use, we have a tushy baby that is coming out, but you can use one of these and then just pat dry with a towel. It can be messy, and so that's why, like, what we've created is this, like, little tiny travel basin that you basically spray the baby's butt, and then you can just spray the poop into the toilet. But it's, again, it's for truly the eco mom who cares about their baby, who doesn't want diaper rash, because diaper rash is what happens when you use wet wipes as well. And so it's a bit more time consuming, but always worth it.
I know. I do that sometimes because the wet wipes do give him diaper rash.
Yeah.
I don't have time every single time to, wipe it down properly. So I do a combination. But if we want to get these topics into schools, talking about poo and eco-friendly aspects, are there child-friendly or cool options? Any fun songs? Alana, did you say that you guys were working on an educational component?
Yeah, we've just piloting to be on the school curriculum. So there's a few elements to it. There's like the educational element of it where we actually teach them through video, and then they do like a cooking element of it. It's like called food tech. Food tech here in the UK, you probably got something similar. And they basically have to take recipes that they maybe have at home or make at home and make them gut friendly. So there's like a learning, but there's also a practical element. So hopefully we'll be rolling that out. But we actually find in schools they're far more willing to learn. They're like, yeah, fiber, I get it. Oh yeah, my granny used to talk about sauerkraut, and I think because they're not yet into those habits yet. So, yeah, I mean that's the bit I would do all day, every day if I could. It's so refreshing. It's amazing to see because they do just get it and they get passionate about it super quickly. And I think that sort of grassroots education is what we will need to make fundamental change in our healthcare system.
Absolutely. And another question for you, Alana, your gut stuffed bars. Can you tell us about them, and are they going to be available in North America?
Yeah, hopefully soon. They're basically high fiber, so they're the highest fiber content here in the UK in a snack bar. No emulsifiers, no preservatives. Obviously, really important when it comes to gut health, and an affordable, accessible price point. And as our mum says, they don't taste like birdseed. So, if I can use that as a review, it was very important for us. 90% of the population don't get enough fiber. It's obviously so important. Not only does it bulk and soften our stool, but it feeds our good bacteria. So there is a big, huge fiber deficiency and problem, and it needs to be solved. And we're not saying, have 3 of our bars and that's it. Definitely not, have one a day to help you get up to that 30 grams of recommended daily intake. But here's recipes and simple swaps. Keep your skins on fruit and veg, swap whole grain pasta, rice, and bread for white, and those sort of simple swaps will help you get up. But yeah, the bars were brought out, and it took us a long time to MPD to get them at a price point that we felt people could afford, but also having no nasties in there. But yeah, we're really proud of them. Hopefully they will come over the pond soon.
Great. I'm just looking for more questions. I had a silly question of the poop emoji has become a cultural icon of sorts. What is your favorite or most used emojis when it comes to expressing wellness, or just your favorite emoji in general?
Oddly enough, I don't use the poop emoji that often.
I don't either. And
Yeah.
this is another thing regarding branding. When we were making this film, we had to come up with animation. It's kind of hard how do you express poop in a way that is attractive? I mean, we went with this gold poop emoji, and our animation is more so like the little bugs instead of the actual poop. But
we use the water we'd use the poop and then the water. So it's like poop. It's like the clean.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been using, the one that's like, because we have that as like cute in our family. Like, oh my God, I can't deal with, because I've just got a new, Lisa's obviously just had a baby. My twins just had a baby. So like anytime she sends us photos or videos, it's like that, I can't cope because he's so cute type emoji. So I think that's probably my most used one at the minute, because anything she sends, you know what it's like when a new baby comes along. All your WhatsApp groups are filled with photos and videos of said child, which I'm obviously loving. He's genetically half mine. I adore him. So yeah, that emoji gets used a lot.
Cute. I've been using the bubble emoji a lot because my kid is gas. He's kind of gassy, so I'm always using little bubbles now.
Oh.
So we're nearing the end. We have 4 minutes left. And I see one question about fecal transplant. I am going to message you privately about that because that's a different subject and we can get into it for sure. I can tell you about my experience. Closing remarks. Does anybody else have anything that they wanted to talk about, but we haven't gotten to?
I mean, I would just say that like no topic should be off limits. I think everything should be, down to be talked about as long as it's done with respect, love, like, acknowledging each other's boundaries. I really get that. And yeah, but it's still like pushing your boundaries is also important. And I think a lot of people kind of feel embarrassed and don't want to talk about it. When you don't talk about stuff, you just end up stagnating. And so it's really cool that everyone here is talking about something that's everyone does. And yet we talk about it when we have babies. It's totally fine to talk about poop all day long, but as soon as it becomes an adult or so there's some taboo that associates itself with it, and it's really, really great to see a lot of soldiers for this cause. So
I agree. Just keep putting it out there and putting it out there.
Yeah, just keep chatting shit
Mm-hmm.
all day, every day.
Yep.
Well, thank you guys so much. This has been my dream panel. Like I said, we've been doing these panels all month and they've been very sciencey and I've learned a ton, but this was just like food for my soul to like talk through some of these things that, you know, we all deal with every single day and don't talk about enough. So thank you guys so much. For everyone who attended or everyone who registered, we will be sending out a recording, and also you're eligible to win products from our sponsors, including a Tushy bidet. So thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Cheers, everyone.
It's been a
Bye.
pleasure. Thank you.